Is free internet a trap? Wake up one morning to find that all the services you rely on, your favorite news website, your favorite social media site, even your favorite email provider, have begun charging you. No more scrolling for free, no more free content. It all comes at a cost now. The initial response would be outrage, perhaps even a sense of betrayal. But then a realization creeps in: maybe the free services were really not free after all. Maybe, just maybe, the price was obscured in plain sight, paid not in money but in something much more precious: your attention, your data, your autonomy. The appeal of complimentary internet services is irresistible. They guarantee connectivity, data, and amusement at $0 cost. But behind this facade of benevolence is a twisty maze of psychological tricks and philosophical dilemmas. The free internet, in a sense, is much like a contemporary Trojan horse, providing presents that once received are full of unexpected repercussions. The root of the dilemma here is the commodification of attention. Platforms are constructed to capture and hold user interest, using mechanisms that take advantage of cognitive biases and psychological vulnerabilities. Features such as infinite scrolling, push notification, and algorithmically tailored content are not convenience features. They are mechanisms designed to capture the user's attention. This constant chase after engagement can turn into compulsive use habits, whereby people are stuck in the cycle of endless checking and scrolling at the cost of their own mental health. Is free internet a trap? The mechanics of surveillance. It doesn't begin with an evil plot or soap opera breach. It begins when you launch a browser. You search something on Google, scroll over Facebook, or watch a video on YouTube. A harmless, mundane experience. But behind the screen, a subtle hidden system starts tracking, logging, analyzing each move. Every second you're leaving behind digital breadcrumbs. The question is, who's harvesting them and why? The instant you browse to a site, several third parties come into the picture. These are not businesses you've ever heard of or consented to share information with. These are advertisement networks, data brokers, analytics companies. By leaving behind snippets of code known as cookies or more sophisticated tracking technologies such as fingerprinting and cross-device tracking, your behavior is tracked in minute detail. What time you stopped by, how long you lingered, which section of the page you read, what you clicked on next. Even your mouse movement is tracked. And this monitoring doesn't end when you shut down. Your smartphone picks up where your computer left off. Background apps quietly report your whereabouts, device use, even battery levels and Bluetooth signals in your vicinity. Much of the free software we access, weather forecasters, photo editors, games, is nothing more than data gathering tools with a user interface. They work less as services and more as behavior information funnels. You might think you're merely using a torch app. In fact, it may be mapping your environment and reselling the information. The data collected is aggregated into profiles, massive databases of identities not defined by names but by behaviors. These profiles are traded, refined, and used for targeting, showing ads, recommending content, nudging decisions. This is where the real game begins. You're not just being observed, you're being influenced. Your online experience is increasingly shaped by algorithms that anticipate your preferences and emotions, optimizing content to hold your attention for longer periods. This algorithmic design of behavior has had significant effects. Social media feeds, for example, are designed to be engaging. That is to say, content that makes you angry, fearful, or excited is given precedence, not always what's real or good. This has created the spread of misinformation, polarization, and poisonous echo chambers. You don't get to choose what you see. The algorithm does. And the algorithm belongs to a company whose primary goal is to maximize profit. Think of it this way: when you're walking through a park in the real world, nobody measures how many steps you take, how many seconds you spend looking at a bird, or whether you smile at the clouds or frown. But online, every little thing is tracked. Not in order to serve you better, but to serve advertisers, marketers, and political campaigns. The purpose is not to improve your life, but to make your behavior predictable. Predictable behavior is worth something. It can be sold. This is the heart of surveillance capitalism, a concept first coined by Harvard professor Shoshana Zuboff. It's a system in which human experience is raw material for advertising. Just as nature was considered a resource to be extracted under industrial capitalism, human behavior is now mined and commodified. The user is not the customer. The advertiser is. You are the product. More worrisome is the feedback loop this generates. As information becomes increasingly key to corporate bottom lines, there's a motivation to increase surveillance. Intelligent home devices, thermostats, speakers, TVs, even refrigerators begin to collect information. The Internet of Things, IoT, makes ordinary objects become sensors. A smart speaker may be listening not just when prompted, but also quietly scoop up audio patterns. A smart TV may record your viewing history, screen time, and overheard conversations. This buildup results in a normalization of monitoring. Individuals come to accept the loss of privacy as a cost of ease. They offer the mantra, "I have nothing to hide," but it is overlooking the point. Privacy is not about concealing things, it's about power. It's control over what people learn about you. In a free society, that's a choice that needs to be maintained. But that choice is being taken away rapidly in our modern digital world. Even if you attempt to opt out, clear your cookies, go incognito, or disable location services, you're not safe. Big tech has other tracking technologies up their sleeve, such as device fingerprinting, which operate irrespective of user preferences. And since these technologies are constantly developing at a faster pace than regulation, users end up playing catch-up. This creates an imbalance of power. You might not be aware of what a company knows about you. You might not even realize they are following you. But they have insight into what you're interested in, how to control your attention, and maybe even how to influence your choices to buy, vote for someone, etc. The implications of this go far beyond ads tailored to you. In weaker legal protection countries, surveillance information can be used for political oppression, discrimination, and even predictive policing. Your online persona may decide whether you are approved for a loan, a job, or a visa. In China, the government has introduced a social credit system that scores citizens on their conduct, both online and offline. Although Western enterprises are not, this explicit control infrastructure is being constructed everywhere. This is not paranoia. This is the recorded reality of the contemporary web. The free sites we adore, Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, are not merely delivering fun or information. They are harvesting machines. And every like, scroll, and search inquiry is a strand in an enormous web of observation. We tend to glorify the internet as a democratizing influence. And it can be, but only if we ask who is in charge, how it works, and at what expense. Free services are never really free. When we pay with data, with time, with attention, we are surrendering something much more precious than dollars. We are surrendering our freedom. In an age of curated and algorithm-controlled digital experiences, the question must be asked, are we consumers or are we being consumed? Is free internet liberating us or subtly ensnaring us in unseen chains of code and projection? Is free internet a trap? The hidden cost of convenience. It's night. You're exhausted. Rather than cooking, you use a free app to order dinner. You map traffic on Google Maps before you head out. You text a friend on WhatsApp and listen to a tune on Spotify. It all seems so easy, convenient, and at no cost to you. Yet in that short time period, your whereabouts were monitored, your interests recorded, your conversations monitored, not always by humans but by machines, and your emotional state analyzed from patterns of activity. It seems like control, but it's not. It's an intricately constructed illusion of freedom based on an architecture of monetization and surveillance. The greatest advantage of the free internet is also its greatest illusion: convenience. Convenience leads us to forget to ask questions. Why are personalized recommendations so easy to obtain? Why do we have free unlimited email, cloud storage, video content, and music? They are not charities. They are businesses with a single aim: making money. And ease is their law. They understand that if you provide services that simplify your life, you will sacrifice more data, more time, more attention. That is the currency. Let me use the example of free email. Millions use Gmail without ever paying a rupee or a cent. But each email you send, each keyword you type becomes a data point. Google's programs don't simply provide spam protection. They scan through content to enhance your profile. If you're talking about baby gear, get ready for ads on diapers and parenting websites. If you whine about a headache, get ready for ads on painkillers. The program is learning all the time, improving, anticipating quietly. And then there's guidance. Google Maps is free because your location information is invaluable. It improves traffic forecasting, yes, but it also makes Google aware of where people are headed, how long they remain, and what businesses are in demand. Such data is sold in aggregated forms to marketers and businesses who desire to optimize advertisements or open new branches. When enough individuals search for a cafe or go to a restaurant, it gets more visible automatically. The market reacts to behavior even when you're unaware that you're influencing it. Free online has also brought about a change in human focus. In the old economy, businesses fought for your money. In the attention economy, they fight for your time. Every minute you spend on screen is being monetized. That's why sites employ mechanisms such as infinite scroll, autoplay, push notifications, and algorithmic suggestions. They're not merely keeping you engaged, they're keeping you there. The longer you are there, the more advertisements you see, the more they earn. The psychological effects of this framework are seldom talked about. The way these platforms are designed tends to prey on human weaknesses, dopamine reactions to likes, shares, notifications. Not by accident, by design. Behavioral scientists collaborate with engineers to create digital products people become dependent on. The aim is not to provide you with liberty, it's to keep you addicted. And the more addicted you are, the more predictable you will be. This is most dangerous for the younger generation. Kids who've grown up with YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram don't just use apps, these apps shape them. Their attention span, self-concept, and social norms are shaped by algorithms. When an 11-year-old girl views hundreds of beauty filters on Instagram, it's not about enjoyment. It's about conditioning, informing her what normal is, what draws attention, what should be appreciated. These are implicit lessons imparted by free platforms. While this is happening, governments and corporations reap the quiet benefits. In democracies, politicians employ digital activity to micro-target ads during elections. Micro-targeting enables campaigns to deliver unique messages to unique users, sometimes conflicting ones. In autocracies, the same technologies are employed to monitor dissent, censor voices, and keep watch on public mood. In all these instances, the individual becomes transparent, whereas power remains opaque. You might think, if I'm not doing anything wrong, why should I care? But this argument misses the bigger picture. The problem is not just about hiding wrongdoing, it's about losing agency. When your decisions are constantly being shaped, nudged, and optimized without your knowledge, are they still your decisions? Imagine walking into a grocery store where every product has been arranged based on your online searches. You're shown offers on specific snacks because the system knows you're likely to buy them when stressed. You might feel like you're making choices, but the environment is designed to steer you. This is what's happening online all the time. Second, the illusion of free access reinforces inequality. Those who cannot pay for subscriptions or paid alternatives to services resort to the free ones, those with the most intrusive tracking. An affluent user may buy ad-free Spotify or premium email package. But a low-income student will use free alternatives, opening up more data, viewing more ads, and being more vulnerable to manipulation. Surveillance capitalism therefore discriminates as much as it exploits. The technology firms rationalize such a model by arguing the user's consent. But in fact, nobody reads tens of page-long terms and conditions containing legalese. And even if you do, you cannot bargain them. It's a take to leave it offer. If you refuse, you are denied access. And in today's world, denial of access to digital spaces means denial of access to information, connectivity, and sometimes means of livelihood. The free internet trap is insidious. It doesn't really feel like one. It feels like advancement. It feels new, cool, and streamlined. But down below, it's a system tuned not for your power but for your exploitation. The more information you provide, the better the fit. And the more the fit, the more difficult it becomes to exit. Some individuals attempt to resist via VPNs, encrypted messaging, privacy-conscious browsers. These are electronic exit strategies, not solutions. They take awareness, effort, and often privilege. The typical user does not even realize they are within a system constructed to observe and control. And this brings us to the real danger: normalization. We're slowly being trained to accept surveillance as normal, manipulation as customization, and loss of privacy as the price of being online. Once a generation grows up believing this is how the world works, reversing it becomes nearly impossible. In this new digital age, the most powerful thing isn't money or troops, it's information. Whoever holds the information holds the story, holds the market, holds the user. And the user, entangled in the web of convenience and connectivity, doesn't often notice the strings being pulled. So the next time you launch an app, keep this in mind: you're not consuming a service. You're fueling a machine. And that machine is learning as much as it can, not to serve you, but to mold you. That's the price of convenience in the era of free internet. Is free internet a trap? Breaking the illusion. Let's take a step back. Consider the internet not only a tool, but a reflection of the systems that produced it. The digital age promised freedom, freedom of information, freedom of expression, freedom of opportunity. But gradually, quietly, a new form of structure arose. Rather than freeing people, it started structuring them by interest, by action, by worth. The user was no longer an individual, but a profile, a data point, a product. At its heart is a system in which free does not equal without price. It equals a price as concealed paid in every swipe, scroll, and click. We were sold the free internet as an open frontier, but it is a digital shopping center in which you pay nothing to get in, but everything about you is monitored, measured, and leveraged to sell you something. And this isn't a conspiracy theory, it's business as usual. We now exist in a world in which tech giants determine what we get to see, whom we hear from, whose content gets amplified, and even how we feel. Their algorithms have turned into invisible editors of reality. If the internet is the new town square, then these corporations are the mayors, the police, and the billboards all in one. And none of them were elected. The question is, can we escape this system? Can we take back the internet? To address that, we must look to the few corners of the online world that are attempting to do things differently. Services like Signal and Proton Mail provide privacy-oriented services supported by subscriptions or donations. The open source world continues to develop tools like Firefox, LibreOffice, and Linux in the belief in a free, not exploitative web. But such efforts are swamped by sheer muscle and scale of big tech. The majority of users never even get to know about them, much less use them. Because the actual problem isn't so much making alternatives, it's making people notice. Let's consider an example. Let's say tomorrow morning you choose to leave all data monetizing services behind. You remove Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You switch to DuckDuckGo, Signal, and an open source OS. You cut the cord on YouTube. What does one do? You don't lose apps, you lose connection. You lose access to trends, memes, information, communities, even job opportunities. That is the magnitude of our dependence. We have been conditioned into thinking that engagement in the digital world means compromising privacy. It's hard to disconnect. And maybe that's not even the correct answer. The internet, after all, has also opened up education, activism, innovation, and connection on a level previously unimaginable. It's not necessarily bad, but how it's currently configured, where attention is money and data is oil, must be questioned. Governments may have a part to play, but here also the situation is muddled. In some nations, laws on data protection such as GDPR in the EU or the soon-to-be-enacted DPDP Act in India attempt to empower users. But implementation is half-hearted and tech firms always find ways around it. Even worse, in most countries, governments themselves leverage the same technologies for spying on citizens. They desire access to the same data that they claim to safeguard. In democracies, regulatory capture is very much a reality. The same players who monitor user behavior also finance political advertisements, lobby governments, and influence policy. And in authoritarian regimes, the control of the internet is the control of dissent. The tools are the same, the intentions vary. Either way, the user loses control. What is even more perilous is that it all feels normal. We scroll through feeds that are full of outrage, ads, and distractions, hardly even registering how the content is designed for emotional response. Social media wasn't created to promote profound thinking, it was constructed to keep you in the loop. And the more emotionally invested you are, the more likely you will click, share, or comment. That is not a bug. That is the business model. So what do we do? First, awareness. Discussions like this challenging the invisible mechanics of the free internet are where we must begin. Individuals should be aware that if they are not paying for the product, they are the product. Second, education. We should be as literate in digital as we are in reading and writing. Individuals must be aware of cookies, algorithms, permissions, and privacy settings, not only how to get better selfies. Third, policy. Lawmakers have to be pressured to abolish monopolies, promote transparency, and put users' rights ahead of corporate gains. We require digital public infrastructure platforms which are open, ethical, and accountable, not as alternatives but as defaults. Fourth, personal action. Yes, it's difficult to make the switch to privacy-first tools, but even tiny actions count. Selecting a secure browser, declining unnecessary permissions, clearing out unused apps, using VPNs, all these sum up. You don't have to be flawless. You just need to be deliberate. Fifth, cultural transformation. We need to put an end to the idea of free being better. We need to appreciate digital dignity. If we don't accept somebody looking through our window to sell us stuff, why do we accept it in our inbox? Why do we allow apps to listen to, watch, and learn about us 24/7? In the end, it's about power. Power to determine what type of internet we deserve. One that controls us or liberates us. An internet that markets to us or serves us. Because here's the thing, the internet is young. Its architecture is still being written. And although big tech has constructed massive skyscrapers of our attention and data, those buildings are not invulnerable. They were created, and what can be created can be remade. But for that to occur, we need to break free from passive consumers and become aware citizens of the digital kingdom. The more we know the trap, the nearer we get to diffusing it. So the next time you click accept all, take a moment. Wonder, what am I surrendering? And more importantly, why? Because in this shadowy marketplace of the free web, the actual product is not the content. It's you.